Hello, everyone. I feel bad. I feel like it's been a little too long since I've done a video, but I am feeling better. Finally got outside to help my husband work on the garden. We have like over 100 tomato plants, hundreds of pepper plants, hundreds of onions, all the squashes and things like that. And we still need to plant corn and green beans, but hopefully that will happen Monday or Tuesday. And finally feeling well enough to take my kids to homeschool group and things like that. So feeling so good to be getting closer and closer back to me. Between the new diet changes and getting enough iron now, I feel like I'm like, let's sail into the second trimester a little bit more. I need to rebuild my stamina because I've pretty much been sedentary way too much the last few months. And so I'm enjoying getting moving, and I wish I was doing this video outside today, but it's raining. But that did give me the perfect opportunity to do this. So, so I thought this kind of came up with a friend, and I thought it was kind of a good opportunity to talk about it. When sometimes we have triggers from our ego, and we're not always ready to deal with those triggers. Sometimes things just aren't set up correctly to deal with them. Sometimes another person needs to be set up so that we can appropriately deal with that trigger too, which is weird to think about because sometimes a trigger you usually associate with yourself, but sometimes it is with another person, and there's actually a lesson for both of you, and sometimes you're just not ready to go into that. When I was talking to my friend, I was talking about how our ego likes to keep us in a circle. And you can think of that like being on a merry-go-round, or carousel. You know the ride, it's safe, it's very predictable. And our ego seeks to keep us very predictable. And that's safe, that's secure, even if it's not the best thing for us. So even if it means not having an uncomfortable conversation because it's keeping you safe and it's keeping you in this pattern and it's what your ego knows. Conversely, you can get triggered and you can choose to step back and become the observer and go, what is this trying to show me about myself? Is it something that needs to be healed? Is it a boundary that needs to be addressed? What is it for this specific situation? And without disclosing too much, she was dealing with somebody who had an addiction, and there's been some time that has passed, but that's a very hard scenario, especially if you've dealt with somebody that's had an addiction, whether it's drugs, alcohol, food, you name it. It's difficulty, and there's patterns, egoic patterns that develop that we do to keep ourselves safe. And she was really struggling with something that was coming up, but she went ahead and did the uncomfortable thing, which ego doesn't like uncomfortable. She kind of got onto that roller coaster and decided to have an honest conversation with this person. And it went super well because the other person had done their growth and working on letting go of their ego, and they were both at the right place at the right time. And it's interesting, now you can see their friendship is going to move forward in a very different, and their roles are going to move forward in a very different way from what they had been. They've grown into something new because she was able to get off this carousel or merry-go-round, jump onto this roller coaster and say, hey, I don't know if there's going to be hills coming, or anything like that. We might have a little loop-de-loop here, but I'm willing to have this uncomfortable moment, this uncomfortable conversation, in hopes that, it makes things better. And it really wasn't, it was just a honest conversation about how she was feeling. And I had another friend that posted something today too about how friendships need honesty and things like that. And she was saying, but delivery is important. And delivery is important too. If this is somebody you care about, maybe you're not going to be so blunt and straightforward. And it may also be that if you've tried having that conversation, that you need to be more blunt and straightforward. So it's a fine line, and it's one of those things that as humans we have to actually gauge. So the next most important thing was the first friend that I was talking about that was dealing with all this growth. She was commenting on how awesome the other person was and how much they've grown and that sort of thing. And I said, hey, look at you. Look at your growth too. You need to be very happy with that, because you've opened a door now for both of you to walk through together and develop and change your relationship in new ways. And I said, that really had to come from you, and it had to be at the right place when you were both ready for it. And I said, you need to honor that's a part of yourself too. There's too often we don't congratulate ourselves. We're happy to cheer and root and all those things for somebody else and be like, yeah, you got on the roller coaster, you got off the carousel and you're on the roller coaster, and let's, this is awesome. But we don't say, well, I just got on that roller coaster too. And I did it. We need to cheer for ourselves. That's so important. You should be the best cheerleader for yourself too. And I think that's a really important lesson, because it comes back to even more self-awareness, even more self-love. And the more we can do that, then we're growing more and more. We're going to, the next time something comes up, some new trigger, we're going to immediately go, oh, do I want to even stay on the carousel? This so much happened the last time I got onto this other ride and took a chance. And you know what? There are going to be times you are triggered, you take a chance being honest with somebody about something, or honest with yourself about something, and it doesn't work out how you expect. It may be the loss of a friendship, the loss of a relationship with a family member, a friend, it's going to happen. And in those instances, I think you have to realize, again, stepping back from the observer, there was something about this relationship I no longer needed. And it's okay to be sad and upset about those things, and to honor that you're worth and worthy of whatever comes next. And usually when people shift out and away from us, it's to bring in new things and new people and new experiences that are maybe more vibrating where we're at now. If you have a lot of friends that aren't doing this kind of growth, you just may not be where they are at now, and they might not be getting where you're at now, and it may be hard for them to understand what's going on with you and why you're changing and those sorts of things. And that's okay. That doesn't make them wrong. It doesn't make you better than them or anything like that. It's just, it is. It's where they're at on their human journey and where you're at on your human journey. It's okay. And it may be at another point in time, they start to realize this self-growth and work and all this stuff, and you may find you're easily friends again, and you're like, why did we ever stop being friends? Or with family members, why did this fall apart? And that's just part of the flow, going with the flow of life and acknowledging the different seasons, I think, in our life. So if you find that you're coming up on a trigger, and I think a lot of people are right now, I think there's a lot of things out in the world that are constantly trying to trigger us. I think our relationships are triggering us. Um, I think if you look at the Schumann resonance and the energy of the earth and everything, we keep going through these kind of upgrades and timeline hops and blackouts and things like that. And you go, humanity's being asked to step up, and that's uncomfortable. And as human beings, we're all kind of being asked, can you get off the merry-go-round or the carousel, and can you hop onto this roller coaster and, you know, literally go with the flow? There's going to be highs on roller coaster, lows, all those things. Can you go with that flow? And as we all are making that choice to do that other ride, it helps everyone. And it also makes it so more people are getting triggered, more people are getting awakened. But the nice thing is we're all starting to get on this other ride versus this egoic trap of safety. And so that means maybe you are having more honest conversations with people. I think that's okay. Those are hard. We're taught not to have honest conversations with people, which is absurd, because there's so many hurt and emotional feelings. There's hurt, there's anger, you know, you feel trapped and sucked in. And if we can find a way to, sometimes bluntly, sometimes with more finesse, say, hey, you know, this is bothering me, and I really want to have a conversation about this, and then go from there. And then we'll know, stepping back and being observers, you're coming from a place of love. They're hopefully coming from a place of love. And you're trying to have this loving conversation and work out what you both need, or just what you need. Because sometimes you're having this conversation with yourself, and you might need to just be honest and blunt with yourself. So the more we can do that, I think the better off we all are. So again, if you find yourself being triggered, you'll realize, and you'll kind of step back and realize, I need to stay on this ego carousel, merry-go-round, or do I want to take a chance and step back, evaluate why it's triggering me, having a conversation with myself or another person, and taking a new, different path? Neither is right or wrong. There's just one that's going to develop your growth as a human, and there's one that you're going to stay kind of in the same place. But there's reasons that sometimes we need to stay in the same place, and there's reasons why sometimes we need to go. And sometimes the universe is going to get so freaking loud, and it's going to push that point, and it's going to push you onto that ride. And you can keep kicking and screaming and trying to go back to the merry-go-round, or you can just kind of hop on the ride and go with the flow. And sometimes the universe is going to push you to do that, and sometimes it's going to say, okay, stay on the merry-go-round a little bit longer, and it will come up again, and it will be noisier, louder, etc., until it's to the point where you're going to jump on the other ride because you're sick of doing this. You're sick of going around literally in a circle. So I hope that was like a really huge lesson for me, even observing my friend going through this and seeing all of these little nuances and everything. And so I hope it's helpful to you guys too. As always, I love conversation and stuff. So if you want to leave a comment and, you know, things that you do when you're triggered, I'd love to hear, because I think that's how we're all helping each other, is saying what works for us. I hope you guys have a great day. Bye.